Picture this. It's 3048, and the Black Death is sweeping across Europe, killing 1/3 of the population within just a few years. In the midst of this catastrophe, medieval physicians make a chilling observation. The people who seem to die fastest are those who bathe regularly, while the unwashed masses appear to survive longer. This isn't coincidence in their minds, but proof of what they've long suspected. Water opens the pores of the skin, allowing deadly vapors and disease to enter the body directly. Bathing isn't just risky, it's essentially suicide. Within a generation, public bathhouses are shuttered, private baths become rare luxuries for the foolhardy, and entire populations embrace dirt as their primary defense against disease and death. But how did this happen? How did medieval people become so terrified of water that they viewed bathing as more dangerous than living in filth? The answer lies in a perfect storm of medical theory, religious doctrine, and practical observation that created a cultural transformation so complete that it shaped European hygiene practices for centuries. Medieval people didn't fear bathing out of ignorance or laziness, but because their best scientific understanding, their religious leaders, and their direct experience all seemed to prove that washing was genuinely dangerous. They developed an entire civilization based on avoiding water contact, creating sophisticated alternatives to bathing that they believed would keep them alive in a world where disease was everywhere, and death was always just one mistake away. Medieval fear of bathing began with ancient medical theories inherited from Greek and Roman physicians, who believed that health depended on maintaining proper balance between the four bodily humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. According to this medical framework, bathing disrupted the natural balance of these humors by opening skin pores and allowing external influences to enter the body. Hot water was particularly dangerous because it was believed to weaken the body's natural defenses and make people more susceptible to disease. The most influential medieval medical text, the Regimen Sanitatis Salernitarum, explicitly warned against frequent bathing, stating that water softened the body and made it vulnerable to corruption from bad air, known as miasma, that was believed to carry disease. Medical authorities taught that the skin was a protective barrier that should remain sealed against external contamination, and that bathing compromised this protection by opening pores and allowing harmful substances to enter the bloodstream. But here's where medieval bathing fears become truly fascinating. These weren't just theoretical concerns, but seemed to be confirmed by practical observation during epidemic periods. When plague, cholera, and other diseases swept through medieval communities, physicians and ordinary people noticed that victims often included individuals who had bathed recently, while those who avoided water seemed to have better survival rates. This correlation, though likely coincidental, reinforced existing medical theories and created powerful empirical evidence that bathing was genuinely dangerous. The religious dimensions of bathing fear added spiritual concerns to medical worries, creating a comprehensive belief system that viewed washing as both physically dangerous and morally suspect. Early Christian teachings emphasized that excessive attention to bodily cleanliness indicated vanity and spiritual weakness, while true holiness required focus on the soul rather than the flesh. Some religious authorities argued that bodily filth was a form of penance that brought believers closer to God through suffering and self-denial. Monastic traditions complicated religious attitudes toward bathing by establishing rules that both required and restricted washing practices. Monks were expected to maintain basic cleanliness for health reasons, but elaborate bathing rituals were condemned as luxurious indulgences that distracted from spiritual devotion. Many monasteries allowed bathing only on specific holy days or during illness, creating religious calendars that regulated when washing was spiritually acceptable. The association between bathing and sexuality created additional religious concerns that linked washing with moral corruption and sinful pleasure. Public bathhouses were often associated with prostitution and other immoral activities, leading religious authorities to view bathing establishments as centers of spiritual contamination that threatened community moral standards. The nakedness required for bathing was itself considered problematic, creating associations between washing and sexual impropriety that made cleanliness morally suspect. The practical economics of medieval bathing created additional barriers that made washing expensive, time-consuming, and socially exclusive in ways that reinforced beliefs about its dangers. Heating water required enormous amounts of fuel that most families couldn't afford regularly. Soap was a luxury item that cost more than many people earned in weeks. Private bathing facilities required investments in equipment, space, and servants that only wealthy households could maintain. Public bathhouses required municipal investments and regulatory oversight that many communities couldn't or wouldn't provide, especially during periods when bathing was viewed as dangerous or immoral. The maintenance costs, fuel expenses, and liability concerns associated with operating public baths made them economically challenging even when they were socially acceptable, and impossible to justify when they were viewed as public health hazards. The social stratification of bathing practices created class distinctions where wealthy people could afford to risk occasional washing, while poor people were forced to rely on alternative cleaning methods that didn't involve water contact. This economic disparity reinforced beliefs that bathing was a luxury rather than a necessity, and that survival was possible without regular washing if proper alternatives were employed. The development of alternative cleaning methods allowed medieval people to maintain some level of hygiene while avoiding the perceived dangers of water contact. Dry cleaning techniques using sand, pumice, or rough cloth could remove dead skin and surface dirt without opening pores or compromising the body's protective barriers. Herbal preparations and aromatic substances masked body odors while providing antiseptic benefits that were believed to prevent disease transmission. Frequent clothing changes became the primary hygiene strategy for people who could afford multiple garments, with clean linen shirts serving as protective barriers that absorbed body oils and prevented direct contact between skin and outer clothing. This approach required significant textile investments, but was considered safer than water-based cleaning methods that were believed to weaken the body's natural defenses. Perfumes, powders, and aromatic substances became sophisticated hygiene tools that served both cosmetic and medical functions by masking odors while providing protection against disease-carrying vapors. Wealthy individuals invested heavily in imported spices, exotic perfumes, and specialized preparations that were believed to purify the air around their bodies and create protective barriers against contamination. The seasonal patterns of medieval bathing reflected beliefs about when water contact was most dangerous and when alternative cleaning methods were most effective. Winter bathing was considered especially risky because cold air was believed to make the body more vulnerable to humoral imbalances, while summer heat was thought to increase the dangers of pore opening and vapor penetration. Spring cleaning rituals often included limited bathing activities that were timed to coincide with favorable astrological conditions and optimal weather patterns that minimized the health risks associated with water contact. These seasonal baths were elaborate affairs that involved medical supervision, herbal preparations, and careful timing to reduce the perceived dangers of washing while still providing essential cleaning benefits. Religious festivals and holy days provided socially acceptable occasions for bathing that were believed to carry divine protection against the normal risks associated with water contact. Easter bathing, for example, was considered safe because of the spiritual purification associated with the resurrection celebration, while ordinary bathing remained dangerous and potentially sinful. The guild systems that controlled medieval hygiene services created professional organizations that managed the limited bathing opportunities available to communities, while maintaining safety standards that reflected contemporary medical beliefs. Bathhouse operators were required to follow specific procedures, use approved herbal preparations, and maintain facility standards that minimized the health risks associated with water contact. Professional bath attendants developed specialized knowledge about safe bathing procedures, optimal water temperatures, and herbal additives that could reduce the dangers associated with washing while still providing cleaning benefits. These specialists charged premium prices for their expertise and maintained professional secrecy about techniques that could make bathing less dangerous for their customers. The regulation of bathing services included licensing requirements, safety inspections, and legal liability provisions that protected both operators and customers from the risks associated with water-based hygiene services. Municipal authorities established standards for bathhouse construction, water quality, and operational procedures that reflected contemporary understanding of bathing dangers, while still allowing limited access to washing facilities. The international variations in bathing practices reflected different cultural traditions, medical beliefs, and economic conditions that influenced how various societies approached the perceived dangers of water contact. Mediterranean cultures maintained stronger bathing traditions inherited from Roman practices, while Northern European societies developed more restrictive approaches that emphasized alternative cleaning methods. Islamic medical knowledge preserved more sophisticated understanding of hygiene benefits, creating cultural exchanges that gradually influenced European attitudes toward bathing safety. Trade relationships with Muslim societies exposed European merchants to different hygiene practices and medical theories that challenged existing beliefs about bathing dangers, though these influences spread slowly through established cultural patterns. The gradual change in European bathing attitudes resulted from multiple factors, including improved medical knowledge, changing religious perspectives, and practical observations that contradicted traditional beliefs about washing dangers. Renaissance scholarship restored classical texts that emphasized bathing benefits, while Protestant Reformation challenged Catholic teachings that had condemned washing as spiritually problematic. The scientific revolution provided new understanding of disease transmission that contradicted miasma theory and humoral medicine, gradually replacing fear-based approaches to hygiene with evidence-based practices that recognized cleaning benefits. However, this transformation occurred slowly over centuries, with many communities maintaining traditional anti-bathing attitudes well into the modern period. Urban development and improved economic conditions made bathing more accessible and affordable for larger populations, reducing the practical barriers that had reinforced beliefs about washing being a dangerous luxury. Public health improvements and better water supplies addressed some of the legitimate health concerns that had made medieval bathing genuinely risky in contaminated urban environments. The legacy of medieval bathing fears established cultural patterns and social attitudes that influenced European hygiene practices for centuries beyond the medieval period. The association between cleanliness and social class, the emphasis on clothing-based hygiene strategies, and the suspicion of public bathing facilities reflected medieval attitudes that persisted long after the medical theories that had created them were abandoned. Modern understanding of medieval bathing fears reveals that these weren't entirely irrational responses, but reflected genuine health concerns about contaminated water supplies, unsafe bathing facilities, and disease transmission risks that were real problems in medieval urban environments. While the theoretical explanations were incorrect, the practical caution about water contact sometimes protected people from legitimate health hazards. The psychological aspects of medieval bathing fears demonstrate how cultural beliefs, medical authority, and practical experience can combine to create powerful social changes that transform fundamental human behaviors. Medieval people weren't ignorant or superstitious, but were responding rationally to the best information available to them, while trying to survive in genuinely dangerous environments where disease was everywhere and medical understanding was limited. So why did medieval people fear bathing more than death? They developed comprehensive belief systems that viewed water contact as genuinely dangerous, based on their best medical knowledge, religious teachings, and practical observations that seemed to confirm bathing risks. They created entire social systems based on avoiding washing, while still maintaining community standards for cleanliness and hygiene that reflected their understanding of health and survival. They proved that human societies can adapt to extreme circumstances by developing alternative solutions that address essential needs, while avoiding perceived dangers, even when those dangers are based on incomplete or incorrect understanding. Their fear of bathing wasn't ignorance, but a rational response to what they believed was genuine life-threatening risk based on the best information available to them. The next time you step into a hot shower and take modern hygiene for granted, remember the medieval person who went months without bathing because they genuinely believed that washing would kill them faster than living in filth, and who developed elaborate alternative cleaning methods based on medical theories and practical observations that seemed to prove water was more dangerous than dirt. If you enjoy the hidden sides of medieval life, hit subscribe and give this video a like.